When the rescue team arrived at that mountain after the Arizona forest fire was extinguished, the ground shifted beneath their feet. There were no screams, no calls for help. Not a single person had survived. On the ground lay only 19 fireproof shelters, and inside them were America's bravest firefighters. But the biggest question was how such experienced and trained firefighters were all killed together in a forest fire. And why was only one man named Brendan left alive from the entire team? The story begins with Brendan, whose life had been completely destroyed. He stayed drunk all the time, he stole, and he had no purpose in life. One day his friend tells him that his girlfriend is pregnant. Hearing this, that very night he staggers over to his girlfriend. He feels relieved to learn the child is his, but his girlfriend was completely fed up with him by now. She tells him plainly that she does not want to ruin her life with him anymore. In her eyes, Brendan was nothing but a drug addict who could not even manage his own life. Brendan tells her he will take responsibility for the child, but she says in anger that he should never try to come back into her life again. After his girlfriend leaves him, Brendan goes back to a bar and starts drinking again. He had completely broken down. But there too, security eventually grabs him and throws him out. Because of the alcohol and drugs, his condition had reached the point where he was not even aware of what he was doing. His friend picks him up off the road, but in anger also slaps him. On the way home, Brendan's eyes fall on an unlocked car. Out of old habit, he first looks around to see if anyone is watching. When he feels the coast is clear, he goes to the car to steal from it. But what he did not know was that it was a police trap. 2 officers had been hiding there all along, and they catch him red-handed. Sometime later, when he comes to his senses, he calls his mother and asks her to get him out on bail. His mother had always left him to fend for himself because she had been completely disappointed in her son. But this time, she bails him out. Even after coming home, Brendan shows no sign of change. He goes straight and lies down on the sofa. Just then his mother comes to him. Her face showed only disappointment. She throws an envelope at him and says to leave the house before nightfall. Nobody wanted him around anymore. The envelope had only a few dollars inside, like the last remaining value of his life. A few months later, his girlfriend gives birth to a daughter. Brendan arrives at the hospital, but is only able to see his daughter from behind the glass. Even so, something begins to change inside him at that very moment. For the first time, he realizes that he can no longer live only for himself. That small glimpse of his daughter awakens in him a sense of responsibility. In that very moment, he decides to change his life. After this, he goes alone to the fire station. He has come to ask for a job. Seeing his condition, one firefighter recognizes him. He had seen Brendan in the hospital before and knew he was a drug user. The moment he finds out Brendan is there asking for work, he immediately says there are no openings. Brendan does not argue much and quietly starts to leave. But then the team captain comes outside and stops him. The captain says there is one vacancy right now, and he can interview him. This was the moment that changed his entire life. During the interview, the captain understands at first glance that Brendan has used drugs. Hearing this question, Brendan panics. He was afraid that if he told the truth, he would be thrown out immediately. But the captain does not press the issue further. He looks at his record and holds his head in his hands because there were several cases against him, including theft and drugs. Even so, he does not send him away. He simply asks why he wants to be here. Brendan slowly explains. He says he has made terrible mistakes in his life. He had destroyed himself. But after his daughter's birth, for the first time he felt he had to change. He wanted to give his daughter a good life. He wanted her to grow up in a normal family and never feel ashamed of her father. The captain listens to his words and is quiet for a while. He knew Brendan's past had been very dark, but he could also see a genuine desire for change inside him. In the end, the captain decides to give him a chance, although he makes it clear that staying here will not be easy. If he wants to be part of this team, he will have to prove himself through willpower and hard work. After this, their rigorous training begins. All the firefighters were running fast up a mountain trail. For everyone else, it was everyday routine training. But for Brendan, every step was a struggle. Years of drug use had left his body completely weakened from the inside. After running just a short distance, his breath starts giving out. His legs begin to fail him, and it feels as though his body simply cannot go any further. The deputy captain sees all this and becomes concerned. He asks the captain why someone like this is being given a chance in the team. Their team was about to undergo a major test to earn the elite hotshot firefighter designation. At such a time, if a weak link like Brendan stayed in the team, it could endanger everyone. But the captain gives him no answer. A little while later, everyone else reaches the mountaintop. Then they begin heading back down. But Brendan had barely made it halfway at that point. His condition was so poor he was taking faltering steps. Nobody helped him. Nobody pitied him. Here, every person had to prove themselves on their own. Brendan had also understood that if he was going to make a place for himself here, he would have to fight it out alone. Slowly, evening begins to fall, but Brendan still has not returned. The rest of the team begin to think he must have fallen along the way or given up. The captain also begins to lose hope inside. But then in the distance on the mountain path, a staggering shadow appears. It was Brendan. His body had completely given out, but he still refuses to quit. He staggers back to the group. His face made it clear he must have thought about giving up many times along the way. But in the end, he dragged himself back. The moment he reaches the team, the first thing he does is take out his phone and show proof that he had genuinely reached the mountaintop. Seeing his condition, everyone understands he had given absolutely everything he had. In that very moment, respect begins to form for him in the eyes of the team. He passes this difficult test and finally becomes part of the team. Even the deputy captain accepts him. After the day's work, Brendan goes to the supermarket completely exhausted. With the little money his mother had given him, he buys essentials for his daughter. Then, he quietly leaves those things outside his girlfriend's door. He does not even knock. He just leaves the things and walks away without saying a word. His feet ached. His body was broken. But a slow change was now taking shape inside him. Time passes, and his girlfriend also begins to notice his changing behavior. On the other side, training at the fire station continued without pause. Every rule there was critically important, because one small mistake could cost the whole team their lives. During training, the captain would suddenly ask questions like, "What would you do if you were trapped in a fire? How would you survive in certain situations? And which rule applies when?" But Brendan had still not properly memorized all the rules. When the captain asked him questions, he would often give wrong answers. The captain would punish the whole team to make Brendan understand that here, one person's mistake affects everyone. The rest of the team begins to get frustrated with him. They complain that everyone is being punished because of him. Brendan knew the fault was his, so he does not argue with anyone. He quietly listens to it all. But then a firefighter named Mike says something hurtful about his girlfriend and daughter in anger. He says maybe that child is not even his. Hearing this, the suppressed anger inside Brendan explodes. His eyes go red and he moves forward to hit Mike. But at that moment, the captain shouts and stops him. In that instant, Brendan realizes that if he raises his hand now, the job he earned with so much effort will be gone. He stops himself. Then, he quietly goes to one side and continues serving out his punishment. This restraint slowly wins him the respect of the rest of the team. Some team members also speak to Mike and tell him that making jokes is one thing, but bringing someone's family into it is wrong. Mike also realizes he had crossed a line. After this, the captain leads them through a critically important emergency drill. He explains that if a forest fire ever surrounds them from all sides and there is no way out, they will need to clear all the burnable material around them and clean the ground. Then they will have to get inside their fire shelters and cover themselves. But the captain makes it clear that if fire completely surrounds them, the chance of survival is almost gone. Temperatures above 1,000 degrees can burn a person within minutes. Sometimes this fire shelter ends up being nothing more than a last hope. Sometime later, they receive a new mission. A forest fire had broken out in the Yarnell Hill area and they are sent there to help. This mission was extremely important for them because if they performed well, they could officially receive the elite hotshot team designation. Every time they went to fight a fire was like stepping into the jaws of death. Nobody knew whether they would return next time. This was what made these firefighters special. They fly over the burning forest in a helicopter. Below, smoke and spreading fire were visible everywhere. Brendan, on his first major mission, was badly frightened inside. The helicopter drops them in front of the fire. The moment they hit the ground, the entire team immediately gets to work. Their plan was to dig the earth and create a large fire line so the fire could not advance further. Just then, the captain notices that the wind direction is changing. He decides they will have to use the fire with fire method, meaning they will deliberately set a controlled fire so both fires collide with each other and cancel out. But the inspector officer present there opposes this decision. His view was that this method was very dangerous. If the wind changed or the calculation turned out to be wrong, the fire could flare up even more. He cites his 40 years of experience and says this method is like inviting death itself. He tries to stop the captain, but the captain knew that if the fire was not stopped now, the situation would get worse. Although he also understood that if he did not listen to the officer, perhaps their team would never earn the elite designation. Even so, he makes the decision that stopping the fire was the most important thing right now. Eventually, the team sets fire on the other side according to their plan. Slowly, both fires move toward each other and finally collide and burn everything in their path. When there is nothing left to burn, the fire begins to weaken on its own. By nightfall, they manage to stop the fire from spreading. The whole team sits down and waits for the fire to settle. The next morning, the whole team is making its way back through the forest. The mission had largely been successful. There was just one problem, which was that the captain had overruled the inspector officer, which could cause trouble ahead. The entire area around them had burned because of the forest fire. Many animals had also died in it. While walking, Mike's eyes fall on a beautiful stone lying on the ground. He picks it up and happily shows it to Brendan. At the same time, another team member picks up a shiny stone from the ashes and says his son loves collecting stones like this, so he will give it to him. But just then, a large burned tree suddenly crashes down hard. Had one team member not pulled another back in time, he would have been killed right there. After the danger passed, Mike puts his hand on Brendan's shoulder and thanks him. A good friendship had begun to form between the two. A little while later, a helicopter comes to pick them up. Everyone starts boarding one by one. But when Brendan's turn comes, Mike suddenly blocks his way. He says Brendan has lost his helmet bag, and according to the rules, no one can board the helicopter without all their equipment. Brendan tries his best to explain, but Mike keeps deliberately making things difficult for him. Time was running out fast. Just then, another teammate hands Mike a roll of tape. In the end, they tape Brendan's helmet directly onto his head and make him get into the helicopter like that. The whole team cannot contain their laughter seeing him. Then Mike, laughing, takes out Brendan's actual helmet bag. In truth, they had hidden his things as a prank. Brendan understands that the team has now truly accepted him as their own. His hard work and transformation were finally paying off. While the whole team rested back at camp, the captain sat alone in his office feeling restless. He was afraid that because of the argument with the inspector officer, their team's dream of becoming hotshots might be shattered. He had worked for 4 years with his team for this opportunity. If everyone's hard work went to waste only because of his decision, he would never be able to forgive himself. Sometime later, the decision finally comes from above. Their team is officially granted the hotshot designation. The inspector officer had not let personal anger overshadow their hard work. Hearing this news, the whole team erupts in joy. To make this special occasion memorable, the captain decides the team will now be given a new name. Someone says the name should be Timber Hotshots. Someone else suggests a different name. But the captain looks toward the distant mountain and says that from now on their name will be the Granite Mountain Hotshots. With this name, their team gets a new identity. Days slowly pass. Brendan still occasionally brings things for his daughter and goes to his girlfriend's house. But this time, things are different. Now, his girlfriend no longer ignores him. One day, she comes outside holding their daughter, and for the first time lets Brendan properly meet his daughter. Seeing his daughter in front of him, a smile comes to Brendan's face on its own. The happiness in his eyes was plain to see. His girlfriend says to hold their daughter. Brendan very much wanted to hold his daughter, but was afraid his dirty clothes or the dust on his body might make her dirty. But without saying a word, his girlfriend places the baby in his arms. The moment Brendan takes his daughter in his arms, his eyes fill with tears. Looking at that small, innocent child, he feels for the first time that his life really is changing. He feels that he too can become a responsible father. With time, the Granite Mountain Hotshots become well known throughout the surrounding area. The whole team had now become like a family. They worked together, laughed together, and lived every small moment of life, even in the daily face of death. Then summer comes, and the danger of forest fires begins to rise again. During one mission, they were using the fire with fire method again. But this time, Brendan's igniter breaks down. He is forced to throw it away. But because of this, the fire suddenly flares up even more. Seeing the situation deteriorate, the captain immediately pulls back with Brendan. In the panic, Brendan crashes into a tree while running and falls. But thankfully, the captain spots him in time and drags him to a safe place. Every year, forest fires burned millions of trees. One day, the team was sitting on a hillside watching the burned forest when they received a special mission. In the forest, there was a massive tree that was 2,000 years old, and they had to save it at all costs. Fire was rapidly moving toward that tree. The whole team immediately gets to work. They clear all the dry grass and flammable material around the tree. Then, they dig up the earth several meters in every direction to create a cleared space so the fire cannot reach there. After securing the protection, they deliberately set fire to the outer area around the tree. Their plan was for both fires to collide and cancel each other out. A little while later, the actual forest fire also reaches there. Now the whole team could only stand and wait. But then the collision of both fires sends a surge of hot air rising up, and sparks fly and reach the trees at the back. Fire catches there too, although this was still within their control. Gradually, all the flammable material on both sides burns away. Oxygen begins to deplete, and eventually the fire starts to settle. In the end, that thousands of years old tree is saved safely. The fire line drawn on the ground looked like a boundary drawn between life and death. The mission is a complete success. In their joy, the whole team gathers beneath that massive tree and takes a photograph together. At that time, nobody had any idea that this photograph would later become their last memory together. On the way back, Brendan and Mike were walking together. Then suddenly, Brendan feels something near his foot. In the very next instant, a rattlesnake bites him. The pain begins spreading through his leg immediately. But as fate would have it, this same accident was going to save his life later. Mike immediately rushes him to the hospital. The venom was slowly spreading through his entire body. Brendan's mind was beginning to go numb. Just then, the doctors say they will need to give him pain medication. But hearing this, Brendan refuses. He was afraid that the narcotic elements in that medication might reignite his old addiction. In the end, he decides to have the operation without any pain medication. He writhes in pain but still holds himself together. The next day, he wakes up from the sound of Mike snoring loudly beside him. In frustration, he throws a nearby cup at Mike. When Mike gets up to leave, he takes a small gift from his bag and gives it to Brendan and says to keep it as a memento. Seeing this, Brendan becomes emotional. A little while later, his mother and girlfriend also come to visit him in the hospital. His mother had now begun to feel proud of her son. People in the town had begun to see them as heroes, but at the same time, his mother was also worried. She wanted Brendan to take on a less dangerous job, at least for his daughter's sake. Brendan thinks about this for a long time. Eventually, he goes to the captain and says he wants to leave the team and take a construction job. He wanted a safer life for his daughter. Hearing this, the captain gets angry. He says that the boy who could not even get a job washing dishes was now going to use this team as a stepping stone and walk away. Brendan tries to explain. He says that if his daughter were not in his life, he would do this work fearlessly for the rest of his life. But now, he has someone to lose. Now he also has to think about his family. The captain explains to him that his old criminal history will always follow him around. If he leaves the team, the outside world will see him as the same old person again. Hearing this, Brendan goes quiet. The very next day, news comes of another forest fire. Before setting out on the mission, the captain tells the deputy captain that after this mission, he is going to retire, and if everything goes well, the deputy will take over the team's responsibility going forward. After this, the whole team once again heads out toward the mountains. Nobody had any idea that this seemingly ordinary mission was going to be their last. The team was being led by Chris. The fire in the forest was spreading rapidly through the shrubs because of strong winds. As always, their plan was to use the fire with fire method to stop the blaze. The team worked very hard to dig the earth and create a large fire line. Then they set a controlled fire so both blazes would collide with each other and stop advancing. But just then, a water-dropping aircraft suddenly passes overhead. In one single moment, there created fire, and the entire fire line gets extinguished by the water. The shrubs they had prepared to burn also become completely wet. All their effort is wasted. Forced to change position, the team begins shifting the fire line toward the hillside. During this, the deputy captain calls Brendan over because a little while ago the snake bite had still not fully healed his leg. So he is sent to a different hillside away from the main team so he can monitor the wind direction and speed from there. Nobody knew that this very decision was going to save his life later. Brendan gets a lift and reaches his designated spot. Once there, he checks the wind direction and speed with his instruments. In the beginning, everything seemed normal. Both wind and humidity were under control. He keeps constantly relaying all information to the captain over the radio. But the forest fire slowly begins changing the weather around it as well. After a while, Brendan notices that the wind has suddenly started picking up. He immediately senses something is wrong. He checks his instruments again, and this time the wind speed is rising rapidly. It had now reached dangerous levels. Brendan immediately reports this to the captain over the radio. With the strong wind, the fire now begins advancing toward them like a monster. The deputy captain understands the situation has gone bad. He tells Brendan to get out of there immediately. Within just a few minutes, the entire area fills with smoke. The fire was spreading so fast that no one had imagined it possible. While running, Brendan slips and falls on the rocks, but he gets up without caring about the pain and starts running to save his life. By the time he reaches the designated safe location, the situation there too had deteriorated. Fire was spreading rapidly in every direction. The smoke was so thick that breathing was becoming difficult. He tries to get out from there, but fire had also reached the path he was supposed to escape through. He was now completely trapped inside the fire. On the other side, the rest of the team members were also in serious trouble. The situation was deteriorating so fast that nobody had time to even think. Then a heavy machinery operator puts his own life at risk and drives into the fire to find Brendan. He locates him and gets him into the vehicle and drives quickly towards safety. A little while later, both of them finally make it out of the fire. Brendan immediately reports over the radio that he is safe, but over where the rest of the team was, the situation kept getting worse. Chris understands that if they do not run now, everything will be over. But the speed of human feet cannot match a forest fire. Just then, the wind suddenly changes direction again. A path that was safe just seconds earlier fills with fire in the next instant. Chris, who is at the front, sees this and stops right there. His face made it perfectly clear that there was no way out left. He immediately turns back toward his team. Running up the hillside and getting out was now impossible. They had only one final option left: stay where they were and deploy the fire shelters. Chris immediately reports their location to the aircraft over the radio. The last remaining hope for the whole team was now that same water-dropping aircraft. Meanwhile, the wind was getting stronger, and the fire was becoming more terrifying with every second. The team quickly sets fire to the surrounding shrubs themselves to create a cleared space around them. This was their last effort. Chris keeps screaming at the aircraft over the radio, begging for help, but no matter how much he calls out, not a single drop of water falls from above. A few moments later, he watches helplessly as the aircraft leaves without coming toward them. In that moment, Chris completely breaks down. He understands that perhaps no one is going to make it. He turns around and looks at his team. There were many young men there whose whole lives were still ahead of them. But now, death was standing before them. Fire was rapidly moving toward them. They all remember that emergency training they had practiced countless times. Everyone quickly removes their bags and takes out their fire shelters. Even in those terrifying conditions, the deputy captain tries to keep everyone calm. He says for the newer members to stay in the middle and for everyone to lie down. In the very next instant, the fire crashes down on them like a storm. Everyone lies on the ground and covers themselves with their fire shelters. Now, whether they lived or died was in the hands of fate. They lie inside the shelters with suffocating breath and pray. But those fire shelters were now looking less like shields against fire and more like burning furnaces. The temperature inside was rising rapidly. One firefighter, overwhelmed by fear, pulls his head out and calls out to Mike. Mike encourages him and says everything will be all right. But that day, fate did not stand by them. The fire temperature had risen above 1,000 degrees. Their fire shelters could not withstand that heat for long either. On the other side, Brendan, standing in the safe area, kept calling out to his companions over the radio. But slowly, the voices coming from the radio begin to go silent. In the end, all signal goes dead. Among those 19 people there was someone who had never in his life promised his wife he would come back safely. Someone who had thought that after this mission he would start a normal life. There was someone who was the father of several children and always brought small things back for them from every mission. There was also a young man who had never told a lie before joining this job. But after joining, he had told his mother this work was not dangerous at all. But in the end, all of this turned to ash. When the fire settled, from a distance all that could be seen was burned black ground. The rescue team slowly made their way there, but the scene before them shattered everyone from the inside. There lay only 19 burned fire shelters. The people inside showed no sign of life. The rescue officer stood there for a moment, unable to move. He did not know what to say over the radio. The burned items scattered around, the melted equipment, and the people turned to ash all spoke of the horrifying truth of that tragedy. And now, only one question remained. Would Brendan, the only survivor from the entire team, ever be able to come out from under the weight of this painful memory? And would he ever be able to live a normal life again? And that's the end of the movie. Hope you enjoyed the recap. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a hype comment, and tell me which movie I should recap next. Don't forget to subscribe to Midnight Recaps and press the bell icon so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.